when you take a look at this chronological graph, I say chronological. Chronological means when you describe many events in the history, you want to take a look at from the past to the current time. That's chronological. Okay, from the very first time of a occasion or an event, right, until the end of like till recent times, like 2026. And first century, 0th century to 5th century, we call it the classical period. And then 85th century, that's the 5th century till 15th century, we call this long period of time as the Middle Ages, because the church was the center of everything. Obviously, the Catholic Church of everything: literature, culture, music, religion, economics, almost everything. Church was the center. The Pope was the. We have the popes now. Popes is kind of the spiritual leader of the Catholic Church. That's a pope. Anyway, after the 15th century is over, there were other periods like Romanticism or Neoclassicism or modernism, things like that. Romanticism was a European movement that lasted from the 18th century to the second half of the 19th century. So like this is the 21st century, maybe this much. Right. Although its roots were in French Revolution, and in many ways it was the reaction against the Industrial Revolution. Where did this Industrial Revolution start? This Industrial Revolution started in England. Remember? And have you heard of this Renaissance? Renaissance happened here, okay, in Florence, in Italy. Okay, Leonardo da Vinci and who's this? He's a rival. Michelangelo. Yes, that's right. Yeah. But Industrial Revolution was ignited, started, as initiated by the invention of steam engine in England, Liverpool. And the Age of Enlightenment, it means in Korean, Kemon, a period during which the reasons and logic of science thinking were the prize above all. Prize means here, valued, okay? Here, what's this? Reason, logic, right? Means reason can be translated, best translated in Korean, 이성 actually. It can be translated 이성, and logic is knowledge. Okay, when you think about the science, what comes across to your mind? Obviously, reason. Everything has to be reasonable. Your explanation has to be reasonable. Your explanation has to be logical. So reason, logic, the centers of the post-industrial revolution, age of the Enlightenment. Romanticism, however, no reason, no logic. They valued nature over science. Nature matters. Then what? Matters more than science. And emotions over rationality. What? We need to express our emotions freely. Okay? Do you sometimes happen to express your emotion to your parents?
Yeah.
Okay. Mostly anger?
No.
No? Or excitement? Excitement, happiness, and appreciation. Mom, Dad, I do appreciate everything you have done to me. Okay. Next. All right. In terms of literature, what does that mean in terms of? You're going to use this phrase a lot. In terms of? Oh yeah, I use this a lot in terms of, okay? Make people think your English is good or better. But this kind of terminology or expressions or phrases will help you improve your vocabulary level. It can be said that Romanticism began with the publication of lyrical ballads. You can ask me, David teacher, did you read this? Yes, I did. Oh, so long and very difficult words. With few others poems and collection of poetry by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge in 1798. These two poets rejected, it's very important, these two poets rejected the strict former rules that have defined poetry for many years. That means English poetry has to be written in certain ways. You've got to stick to those rules. If you don't, the literacy groups or people will despise you. Despise means 경멸. All right? Look down on your poem. So you have to keep the rules. No matter whatsoever. Instead, writing poems based on their feeling. Based on feeling. Like you can sing a song. Like you can, as if you're talking to your loved ones, your lover. Oh, lovely, blah, 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 and I express my emotion, blah, blah, blah. But before this, science was the top of their interests. The science emphasized what? Reason and logic. But now, emotion and nature. Okay? Melancholy. And using language that was easily understood by the average person. Why? Before that, to separate those who were intellectual. I am intellectual. To separate those intellectual from the commoners. Like commoners. General public, okay? The best way to do this was making poems not readable. You read the poems, you don't understand. I don't understand what this poem says. Because the words and phrases and the concept that were found in those very strict and all the traditional poems were very, very, very illiterate. People could not understand at all. But Romanticism, I let the general public understand what my poems really tell them. Like, easy word, easy structure. Okay? And then using language that was easily understood by the average person. Wordsworth later described the poetry as the spontaneous overflow or the power feeling. Means you have this feeling, you can't keep it because it overflows, so you just let it out through your mouth or your hands. Like, I can't control this enlightenment, this fulfillment, this emotion. Oh, I have to express. How? By poems. One of the big changes that Romanticism brought to poetry was the fact that it became acceptable to write in the first person. This was because poets were no longer seen as people who were simply describing the external world. No. People like poets were no longer seen. People started to think poem as a people who were simply describing the internal world. Why? Why would people keep saying our external world? You need to express what's inside of you. And this overflows. You can't just stay still. You have to express to the loved ones, to your to your lovers or people who you love. Okay? Instead, they were viewed or they're viewed as or seen as individual creatively expressing their internal feelings. Okay? Oops. Here, so Romanticism also affected the novelist. Oh, not just poets, but also what? Novelists, who created a new branch of literature known as Gothic fiction. Hey, do you like scary story?
Yeah.
Do you like horror story?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me one. Gothic fiction. It began with a novel by Horace Walpole called The Castle of Otranto, which introduced a dramatic atmosphere. What does that mean, atmosphere in Korean? No? Are you kidding me? It's been 분위기. And supernatural elements. What? Supernatural, like a ghost, or magic, or sometimes wizard, or witches, even God. Alright? Angels. And these supernatural elements would become characteristic of the genre. When you read any book that comes from Gothic fiction styles, you can see so many dramatic elements and supernatural elements. Do you know my favorite book? I never told you. The favorite movie I've ever watched is Ling of the Road. Yes, yes. Gollum, my precious. This Ling of the Road. I'm a great fan. I'm a huge fan of Ling of the Road. Okay? Kind of like that. Supernatural elements. Orcs, Gollum, wizard, or sorcerer. And then what? Little dwarfs. And evil spirits. Okay? And what else? Little fairy tales, like fairies, like that. One of the most famous Gothic novelists today is Edgar Allan Poe. Oh my goodness. He is one of the legendary. He's dead now. Edgar Allan Poe. You will hear this name when you go to America. Definitely, 100%. Like the poetry here, Wordsworth, and anybody can like your English teachers come into your classroom and I'm here to suggest you that you read this poems written by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Oh, you can say, oh, teacher, I have heard those names. How do you know that you're such a Asian boy? Because, oh, that's a racist comment. Anyway, I know these names because my English teacher back in my country, Korea, told me we talked about these things. Romanticism. Oh, then you get A. You will get an A. Definitely. Okay, Edgar Allan Poe, a man whose work best defines Romanticism in literature. In the late 19th century, Romanticism began to fade away. Nothing can last forever. Nothing can last forever. It was largely replaced realism. So romanticism. Really. People like, oh my love, romance, love stories and nature stories, and people got sick and tired of them. They started to be interested in realistic ideas. A new movement that focused on straightforward portrayal of everyday life. I love you. Romanticism like what? Romeo and Juliet shit? Sorry. Not like that. We need to stick with our reality rather than the dramatic emotions found in romantic writing. Despite this, Romanticism still has a clear and powerful influence on many modern authors today. Okay? Good. Here, number one. What you got? The wrong answer. Here. First of all, let's talk about this. Number two, according to paragraph 2, all of the following are true about lyrical ballads with a few other poems, except this. This you can't find. Which one?
C.
Yeah? What is it? It follows the strict rule of tradition. No! You know what? Romanticism poem did not follow the strict rules. Okay? There was iambic rhythm. This is iambic. When you read the poems, you should feel this rhythm. Dot, 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 dot in the poem. Like as I have to go, you have to show, we need to get, we should so, like this. A, B, A, like that. The strict rules. But Romanticism, oh no. We just want to say whatever we can find inside of us. We don't care the rules. So here, you follow the strict rules of tradition point? No. Absolutely no. The opposite. And which one? Number 3. The author's description of Gothic fiction mentioned which of the following? Gothic fiction. Elegant and flow. What? Inner feelings, paranormal factors, scientific thinking, realistic discussion. It's gotta be B. Yeah. What's a paranormal? You are in your room. All of a sudden, your desk is starting to tremble. It wasn't because of the earthquake. And your cup started to move on its own. That's paranormal. This Gothic, you know? Dark, black, magic, dark magic, things like that. That's a paranormal. Okay? Good. And next, what about the assignment here? The power